Uh, Welcome. Let's get going. I guess that's the first question then. A little bit about your Leave Note connection.
My Leave Note connection is really through my wife, who came to Leave Note right before we were married, after we graduated college, and that's really what sort of connected her Jewish roots and Israeli roots, and was instrumental in bringing us together to Israel, I would say.
And how long ago was that?
We made Aliyah in 1992. She came, I think it was in 1986, something like that.
1986. Wow. All right. So maybe moving off the Leave Note connection, just share a little bit of your story and how you came to Israel in the first place and finally decided to make Aliyah.
Yeah. So that's making Aliyah is really sort of the end of a long journey. I grew up in Los Angeles as more or less a secular, traditional Jew, surfing the beaches of California, had a nice life. But I always had this philosophical question, as existentialist question. I didn't really know that's what it was, but basically, ever since I was a little kid, I wondered what I was doing here. Like, what's the purpose of life? If people are here for a short time, so then what's the point? And it wasn't until I got a student internship at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory while I was studying at UCLA, that I finally began to get a little bit of an answer to that question. I was working for a friend of the family named Ray Eskenazi. He basically taught me engineering, and turns out he was a religious Jew, so he taught me a little bit about Judaism and what the Jewish answer is to the existentialist question. Basically, as we all know, there's a creator. We're here to fix ourselves. We're here to fix the world. There's a purpose. And so that was basically the beginning of my journey. The way it got connected to Israel and Aliyah was because as you begin to learn about Judaism, you realize that Israel is the home of the Jews, and if you want to fulfill your Jewish purpose to the ultimate degree, so you need to be in the Jewish homeland.
Can I just jump in? Did you have much of a Jewish background growing up?
Growing up, I had, my parents were traditional. We made Kiddush on Shabbat, and then we went to the movies. We didn't eat on Yom Kippur, but, we went everywhere and did everything else. I went to a conservative temple and became bar mitzvah, and then that was like my graduation party. I didn't have to do anything else with Judaism anymore.
Hmm. And how did you end up getting a bug to come to Israel, or
well, like I said, once you begin to learn about Judaism, and I think Rav Aaron said it quite nicely. He said, if you give a 13-year-old a chumash and say, give me a book report on this book that you read, and tell me, what's the theme of the book? So he said, it's pretty simple. It's about a people coming to their land. And so I also believe that very much, and it's kind of hard to hide when you say, bring us back to the land of Israel every time you eat and every time you daven. And so Israel was very prominent in my Jewish journey, and so too it was with the girl that I was going out with at UCLA, who happened to be the connection to Leave Note. That Dina basically came to Leave Note after we had been going out and learning about Judaism, and that sort of cemented the idea that really we need to move to the land of Israel. And so that's basically how we ended up here.
She came in '86, and when did you make your first trip?
I made my first trip after we were married. We got married in 1987, and so then the two of us came on an extended honeymoon. Basically, we came here for a year, more or less to see what was this place. That was my first trip of my life. Israel was just sort of this spiritual idea. It wasn't a real country. So we got a taste of the real country. We came here for a year. We learned in various yeshivot in Yerushalayim. And then we went back to LA to try to regroup and figure out when and how we would come. And then basically 5 years later, 4.5 years later, we made Aliyah.
That was in what year?
In 1992.
1992.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was basically, we had 2 daughters, ages 1 and 3. And we said, if we're going to move, we have to move before they get into the school system. And so the goal was by the time the oldest is 5, we have to be out of there.
So you made it.
Yeah.
And how did you, where did you land when you first arrived in Israel, and how did you make your way to Yerushalayim?
Yeah, so, everybody has in their mind Jerusalem, it's the center of the world, and that's where we want to be. But on the other hand, you need to make a living, and I'm an engineer, and so I got a job with IBM in Haifa. IBM has one of their R&D facilities in Haifa. It was at the time on the Technion campus, and so they flew us in. And so basically we ended up living in Haifa. Haifa in 1992 was a very, very difficult place for an English-speaking religious Jew to be. There wasn't a day that went by that somebody didn't say, what are you doing here? You left Los Angeles to come here? Why would you do that? And beside the fact that we didn't really speak Hebrew, and there was, the number of religious Jews there and the religious infrastructure, meaning simple things like a falafel stand or a pizza place, that were virtually non-existent. So it was a very hard landing, but it was very worthwhile. In the end, in retrospect, it was a great thing because basically I learned to speak Hebrew there because you meet people that you can't communicate in any other way. If we came direct to Jerusalem, we would have never spoke Hebrew. And then also IBM was a wonderful place for an engineer to land because that's basically where I learned how to design chips. And that's basically what gave me a very strong background to go on in engineering in Israel. Everybody knows IBM Israel. And so then after about 1.5 years of being in Haifa, we basically said we're not going to last here, need to try to move somewhere else. And so we looked for an English-speaking religious community, which there are very many nice communities, but obviously Jerusalem has an extra added incentive, let's say, in the sense that it is the center of the Jewish world, and we needed our morale to be picked up. We needed, a place where people wouldn't keep asking us, why did you come? And, Jerusalem, everybody understands why you came. And so that's how we ended up in Jerusalem.
Okay, and how drastic a difference was it between Jerusalem and Haifa? How long were you in Haifa before you got to Jerusalem?
We were in Haifa for basically 1.5 years. A standard of living-wise, it's pretty much the same, which was very difficult. In 1992, I felt like we went back about at least 25 years in standard of living. I remember waking up in Haifa and smelling leaded gas, and it brought back memories of when I was a little kid. Unleaded gas had already come to the United States for at least 20 years, right? We were all kinds of little things. Dial phones, It used to take me, minutes to dial an international number. If you made a mistake, that's more minutes just to dial out. So that was sort of Israel.
Why didn't you go back? Why didn't you leave?
Because we came here for a reason. We came here to fulfill purpose. People used to ask me, so are you, happy that you came? Is everything great? I said, no, it's not great, but it's fulfilling meaning. I came to fulfill meaning. That's how I became a religious Jew, and that's how I became somebody who lives in Israel. if all I was doing was looking for an easy way, I wouldn't have come in the first place. I wouldn't have become religious. Like I said, I always had this question since I was a little kid. What are we doing here? And I think that for me, Judaism hasn't let me down in that aspect. As many people may know, Viktor Frankl wrote a book, Man's Search for Meaning. Basically, what ultimately drives man is his search for meaning. And so because of that, that's how I've lasted through all of this. I mean, I will say, since I see my wife is on the line, that there were some difficult times where I said, that's it. I can't take it anymore. And I said, we have no friends. We have no family. We have no money. What are we doing here? And that maybe it's time to go back. And my wife, she never answered. She just started crying, about to leave.
That was the end of that.
Yeah. So there's philosophy, and then there's emotion, and
Mm-hmm. And also you're really acclimated to Israel. No, it would have been the opposite to go back.
No, our kids, thank God we came here when they were little, and so this is our home.
Yeah.
Isn't an issue.
And how did you get to Mobileye? You're often referred to as, maybe you'll give us the reason why are you called the Rav of the Rabbi of the Mobileye Rabbi?
Yeah. So Mobileye is really sort of the end of the story. I mean, I went from Haifa to Jerusalem. I worked for several startups, little companies, big companies along the way, until I started with Mobileye in the year 2001. Basically, they had started about a year or so before that. I was like one of the first 15 employees. We were working out of a house in Ramot. And I actually got there through what some people would say bad luck. I would say is hashgacha pratit. I was working for a startup in the year 2000 when the dot-com boom became the dot-com bust. And all the internet companies went under, and the company I was working for closed shop. And so, I was on the street, no job, no hope of a job. All the engineering companies are closed up. And I began to look for work, and I got offers in different companies. I got offers from big companies. I said, no, I want to work for a startup. I got offers from internet companies. I said, no, the internet is obviously dead. And so finally I got an offer from this little startup that was in the automotive industry. And I said, oh, cars, people need cars. I'll go work for them. And so that company became well known throughout the world as Mobileye. And so I got there.
What stage was that, Mois? Was that very early in its inception?
Yeah. Like I said, I was like one of the first 15 employees. I mean, basically, the company had started out by building a large prototype with a bunch of computers in the back of a van and a lot of software that worked very slowly. And they made a proof of concept. But then once they had a proof of concept, they said, okay, we need to make this work fast and be small. And so they hired, he basically hired myself and a few other chip designers. And we took all of these computers and all the software and all the algorithms, and we put it in a little chip that works at the speed of your eye. And so
can we shift gears for a minute?
Sure.
Okay, so one, obviously Mobileye's expanded a lot over the last few years. And have you seen an impact of that expansion on the Jerusalem scene, people coming into work for Mobileye who are from different sectors of the population? How do you think it's impacted on the city?
I mean, it's made a huge impact on Israel in general and on Jerusalem in particular. I mean, Israel's always been known as the startup nation, with Mobileye being the largest exit in Israeli history. that's made a huge impact on the world. John Medved, who's the CEO of our crowd, the largest VC or the most active VC in Israel, he was quoted in the news saying that after the Intel Mobileye buyout, all hell has broken loose. And my phone has not stopped ringing from everywhere in the world, that everywhere in the world wants to invest in Israel. So there's been a huge impact on Israel by Mobileye's buyout. But there's also been a huge impact on not only just that we're known as a startup nation, we can do all kinds of startups, but now Israel has become known as this automotive or mobility hub, where lots of mobility basically refers to anything that moves, cars and everything related to cars and infrastructure and all the devices that are related to that. And so a lot of car companies have come here and started investing in technologies that are being developed here. But in Jerusalem in specific, there's been a huge impact because really, Jerusalem wasn't known as a engineering hub. The main high-tech development sites would have been, Haifa and Tel Aviv, Herzliya Pituach. Jerusalem really had very little going for it. And so now there's been a huge expansion of that. And that's also more to your question about segments is that, there's a lot more engineering, there's a lot more engineers, but also Mobileye has specific programs that have targeted trying to bring in other people. And so there's a program specifically to try to integrate Haredim. There's a program specifically targeted to try to integrate people with disabilities, people who can do, certain functions and do certain testing or certain whatever things that there are. Mobileye actually has very specific programs to outreach to all the segments that are existing in Jerusalem.
I guess the Haredi section or any others, do you see a shift there? More people looking for high-tech jobs, more people coming into the workplace in general? I assume it's a mixed workplace. How do you guys integrate?
Israel in general has a mixed workplace. Jerusalem specifically has more religious people in general, and so there's more religious people just represented by percentage of the population. In terms of do I see more Haredim or less Haredim? I don't have my pulse on that, or my hand on that pulse, but basically, I know that there's a program to bring more Haredim in. I know that Mobileye has hired many Haredim. Do I see this as a trend in their population? I have no idea. That's what I've been told, is that things like that are happening. But Mobileye is doing its bit to integrate. I know that Intel in general is also, in terms of integrating just religious people, that sort of brings us back to my sort of Rabbi of Mobileye role. Ever since the company really started, I always tried to make sure that there was some kind of religious flavor when the CEO would give his Haramat Kosik, toast to the new year or toast to Pesach, whatever it is. So I would always go up and say some little Dvar Torah. And that little push to do that became integrated into the whole company's social network. And even when we were more than 15 people or 50 people or 150 people or 500, the CEO always gave me the stage first to say something about the holiday, and then he would give the company overview. But that was just really one piece of my little Rabbi of Mobileye. I also began in those early days a class for not religious people. I saw that we would eat lunch together every day, and there would be people that just by the nature of things in Israel, that the conversations would often turn to religion. And I saw that there was a few guys there that had no idea about anything Jewish. And so I said, why don't we have once a week, we'll have a lunch where we just talk about, Jewish ideas. And so that little class started with 3 people in the basement of this house in Ramot. And then when we moved to the buildings that we were, the various buildings in Har Chutzvim, so the class took on a life of its own, and then religious people started coming and not religious. And I basically maintain this class to this day. And you can go on my website. There's 400 shiurim with, taped and source sheets, which basically go through all kinds of different issues whether it's parsha or holiday or medical ethics or how technology integrates with Jewish philosophy. So there's all kinds of different ways that I've worked to make sure that there's this integration. And the company itself has to be said that they also, like on all the company parties, make sure that there's kashrut and that there's, special kashrut for the people who want to have, mehadrin versus rabbanut. They go out of their way to try to make sure that everybody's accommodated.
Okay. Wow. I have a question here from Yona Cohen, who's in the audience there. She's our new CEO, who herself comes from the world of high tech. She was also involved in programs with the Haredim, getting more involved in that job market. And she asked, how does Jerusalem impact Mobileye? I'm switching the question on its head.
Well, look, the company was started by Ziv Aviram and Amnon Shashua, who both lived in Jerusalem, and Amnon has been the head of computer vision at Hebrew U, and so naturally it took place there. I think the way that it's impacted us is it's really sort of symbiotic. I mean, there's a lot of people that come from Hebrew University, and has Jerusalem impacted Mobileye? I don't really have a good answer to that question. I'm not for sure that it would be a different company if it was in a different city. It might have some little different flavor, but.
Mm-hmm. Okay, my next question is, you kind of hinted at it. You took on a role of educator and connector at Mobileye, it sounds like, with things, all things Jewish. Have you incorporated any of your learning or the aspects of Torah into the engineer role and the things that you do in Mobileye, planning the decisions that the chips have to deal with and that kind of stuff?
Truth, not really. I mean, engineering is engineering, and there are moral issues, but I think everybody, the only way you could maybe say is that are you a moral person when you go to work and you don't steal and you don't cheat and all these kinds of things that are applicable to all places. I think perhaps the one main way that there's a very distinct confluence is with this famous now trolley dilemma, which the trolley dilemma, for those of you who aren't familiar, basically was a dilemma that was put forth by an ethics professor named Philippa Foot from England, and she was just trying to get people to think about ethical dilemmas. The dilemma being that you're in a trolley going down the tracks and you've lost your brakes. There are 5 people in front of you that you're about to run over. The only option at your hand is to pull the lever and move to the track next to you, and you will save the 5 people. But unfortunately, there's one person standing on that track, and you're going to kill him. And so, on the one hand, it's a very sort of utilitarian question, 5 against 1, very simple, save the 5. But it's also a deontological question. That is to say that it brings in rules that are inviolable, which is thou shalt not murder. When you turn that wheel or you pull that track lever, you're now going to actively choose to kill somebody, which is known as, well, manslaughter at least. But you're now actively killing versus passively killing. And so that question is a very difficult question that has been asked for, like I said, since 1967. But now it's become what I like to say digital. The trolley problem, I wrote a whole article which is supposed to be published in a book on AI and ethics called The Trolley Problem Just Got Digital. And now that same dilemma can be applied to an autonomous vehicle. If the car is driving down the street and it sees there are 5 people that it's going to run over, for whatever reason, somebody ran into the street, the car lost its brakes, we could conjure up a scene where a car is going to have to make a decision between life and death. These people will die and those people will live, and vice versa. And so it becomes an ethical dilemma that even autonomous vehicles will have to be programmed accordingly. And so I have a whole, hour shiur on it, and I have a whole article on it, which is on the web already. But to go back to your point, does this impact my programming? The answer is no. And the answer is no because, what Amnon Shashua, the founder of the company, said is that we are programmers, we are engineers, we are not moral ethicists. And so we're not going to make that decision. So even as much as nice it is that I'm like the rabbi of Mobileye as a company, Mobileye, is not going to make that decision internally. Rather, it's going to be the governments that are going to make the regulations, and they'll say, this is how we want the car to drive in this kind of a situation. And we'll write the if then else, whatever they want us to do. Or, the car manufacturer, whoever it is, ideally it should be some third party ethical body that's looking at it as objectively as possible. But Mobileye or any of the engineers there are not going to make that decision.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very a little bit scary when you
Well,
come
yeah,
to
so I'd like to address that scary part. So on the one hand, yeah, it sounds scary, but on the other hand, I mean, how many trolley problems have you heard of with people driving? And people are lousy drivers. It doesn't happen. The number of trolley problem dilemmas that come in the world can probably be counted on one hand, So the fact of the matter is that when computers are driving, people's lives are going to be saved. And when computers are driving, I mean, the RAND Corporation has estimates of reducing traffic accidents by 100-fold, by 1,000-fold. I mean, in orders of magnitude, the reduction of car accidents that's going to happen. So now, will a trolley problem happen? I mean, the odds are incredibly low. Does the car need to be programmed in such an instance? For sure, right? It has to be able to have a decision-making process in all events. But will such an event come to fruition? It's in my book, it's very unlikely.
Almost never. Thank you. The last question I have is really how have you seen Jerusalem change over the last few years, and where do you think it's going?
Yeah. So I mean, how I've seen it change. I started working in Jerusalem in 1994. I would say that comparatively speaking, it was a technological wasteland. I mean, there was barely any high tech in Jerusalem. That's not to say there wasn't any, but there was very little. And there was, there's a few software companies. Intel had their chip manufacturing plant, which is not their chip design facility. And so there were some startups with software. I mean, there could be a couple of hardware companies you could find here and there, but it's day and night compared to what there is today. I mean, today, like we said already, Jerusalem is a technology hub. Har Chotzvim is just one center. There's also the Malchat technological part, and there's companies all over the city. There's even a group that promotes Jerusalem called Made in Jerusalem. I have a friend, Ben Wiener, who has a VC dedicated just to technology firms in Jerusalem. And so there's no doubt that Jerusalem has become something amazing in the tech world. But I think that what's interesting about Jerusalem is that, it brings two worlds together. It brings, the world of tradition and what people think about Jerusalem. And it also brings the new world of technology together. Two of the biggest engines of the Israeli economy are tourism and technology. And those both come together in Jerusalem. And, there's people that come, there's many people that come to this country because they want to see the startup nation. And there's many people that come to this country that want to see the land of the Bible. Some of those people are those same people. And they come to Jerusalem and they end up coming to look at tech companies in Jerusalem. And so one of the hats that I wear actually is being the storyteller of Mobileye. And so you'd be amazed at all the groups that I give tours of Mobileye. And I basically try to weave a story that brings both the tradition and the technology together. And I try to explain to them that, we're the Jewish people that we're also the people of the book, and we're also the people of the tech, and we use them together, and they both help us to integrate really what is the philosophy that I've followed all of my life through my Jewish journey, and that is Torah umada. I think that Torah without philosophy, Torah without science is absurd as science without Torah. It's really the confluence of the two together that makes the complete person, the complete nation.